pali awiri palidi kantu muntu ngati limozimodzi madziwokhetsa ludzu ngati umuntu.
Look, I think about it for a minute. I celebrate when I'm winning. Look, you see the world keeps spinning and I keep dreaming as I open my third eye. You gaze up the horizon, I chase knowledge in these books. I'm amazed. That's why we raise the bar high, elevate and meditate and celebrate. Cause you see umuntu ndituntu palibo gawanika, one mind, body and soul. I'm on the low ndikumbuka ngani za gogo under the moon and the stars chakukomo.
Paweka songa kale anthu umuntu pali awiri palidi kantu muntu ngati limozimodzi madziwokhetsa ludzu ngati umuntu.
Welcome to this special program. Today is a very special program for 3 reasons. First one is that this is the first video for those who have been listening to, because Ubuntu Matters, we know that it's always been on audio. This is the first video. And the second one is that it's a collaboration between Ubuntu Matters and the Podium
podcast.
Yeah, the Podium is hosted by Paul, my childhood friend.
Sure, Dumi.
Yeah, how long have we known each other, bro?
Yes, since I can't remember. Yeah, we knew each other when we were like very young. Yeah, I remember. If my memory serves me right, that was Zomba Systemic Fellowship.
Yes.
Yes, and we started this other group, The Cross.
Bonded over poetry.
Yes, rhythm and poetry. Rap, and we came up with very good songs, which unfortunately we didn't record.
They died before they were born.
Yeah. So yeah,
cool. But like, what's the other reason this is special, Paul?
Okay, today this episode is a very special one because we are interviewing the living legend. We are honored to have one of the greatest writers in the country. He has published numerous poems, plays, and short stories. He has edited the Strides in English series. If you went to secondary school in Malawi, his name is not new. It will not come as a surprise to you. He's not only recognized in Malawi only, but also internationally. In 1989, his work featured in BBC collection of winning poetry, The Face of Vultures. And in 2005, he was awarded the UNESCO International Fund for the promotion of culture and fellowship for artists in Italy. In 2007, he was attached to University of Glasgow in Scotland, where he wrote Advanced English Language Skills Handbook. As if that's not enough, he is also the chief in Mzimba under Inko Simtwalo. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking of Dr. Bruce Zondiwe Mbano. Okay, Dr. Mbano, you are welcome to this episode.
Thank you.
Sure. You have recently published a book entitled Introduction to Literature, Prose and Poetry, in which you introduced literature to us by showcasing some of the poems that were written by some of your students in the class of creative writing course. And you note that many of these pieces, you said, would have been described by Dr. David Robadili as coming straight out of the fire. I'm really curious to know, what are you trying to mean with that phrase, coming straight out of the fire?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
This is a phrase that Professor Robadili used to wrote some poems that he found very urgent and truthful.
All right.
Perhaps you could understand it from analyzing the phrase straight from the fire. Something that comes straight from the fire, assume it is cooked, it is hot, it is ready to be eaten, and perhaps also as a warning, it can burn.
Yes, right.
So these poems are written and they are urgent and truthful, describing an urgent situation in the country, something of great concern. That's what he wanted to
Wow. Very interesting.
You guys mentioned the late Professor David Umbertide. For those who don't know him, he's the first Malawian poet to be internationally recognized. But if you are following our podcast, he was one of the Young Turks, the young nationalists that were involved in the cabinet crisis. And one of the poems that he was very recognized by is African Thunderstorm.
African Thunderstorm, yes.
Can we listen to African Thunderstorm?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, African Thunderstorm by Dr. David Umbertide.
An African thunderstorm. From the west, clouds came hurrying with the wind, turning sharply here and there, like a plague of locusts, whirling, tossing up things on its tail, like a madman chasing nothing. Pregnant clouds ride stately on its back, gathering to perch on hills like sinister dark wings. The wind whistles by and trees bend to let it pass. In the village, screams of delighted children toss and turn in the din of the whirling wind. Women, babies clinging on their backs, dart about in and out, madly. The wind whistles by whilst trees bend to let it pass. Clothes wave like tattered flags, flying off to expose dangling breasts. As jagged blinding flashes rumble, tremble, and crack amidst the smell of fired smoke and the pelting march of the storm.
All right. So can you tell us what is this poem about, the African Thunderstorm?
The African Thunderstorm, one of the great poems written by Malawian,
Yes.
Which reached international levels, is first and foremost a poem about thunderstorm.
Yes, exactly. Sure.
And we know what happens in a thunderstorm. The urgency that it brings,
Yes.
the running up and down of people, the wind, the fear, the concern that things will be destroyed, the concerns that perhaps houses must be swept off, the roofs must be swept off. So the concerns and the anxiety that it brings is all captured in this. You can see a real African thunderstorm coming at the beginning of the rain. Now, poetry does not just talk at one level. So you see at an analytical level that surely Professor Umbertide is not just talking about a thunderstorm. He's talking about some phenomena that came suddenly with some level of devastating force. And you can imagine he was a nationalist. Therefore, what comes to mind is the coming of the Western governments imposed on African people. How it came so forcefully. And you can see among the reactions, reaction of excitement by children who don't know what is happening, and the exploitation of the women. You can see death also coming in, because somewhere talks about fire.
Yes.
Smoking fire.
Smoking fire. The last part is talking about fire. Smoke is talking about that must be gunfire. And also you can see somewhere he's talking, comparing the clothes stuttering like flags. You can see some government structure being entrenched, being built, being brought in against the people.
I see.
So surely this poem at a deeper level is talking about the phenomena of the coming governments from the West, uninvited, by force, against people who were not ready for them and yet have no choice.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds like colonialism, eh?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, definitely. But like, what struck me in this, I think it's an allegory. Can we say this is an allegory, in a sense?
Well, the poem, as any piece of literature, works at a different level. Allegory works at 2 levels, but poems can work at different levels, even more than 2 levels. In short, we just say it is metaphorical. Any poem works at metaphorical
level. Yes, and you mentioned that the children seem to be delighted, but the women seem to be the main victims of this thunderstorm. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Do you think colonialism had a different bearing on women?
Yes, the women, as usual, can be victimized by powerful phenomena coming because of their responsibilities in the home, because of their responsibility maybe looking after children and the like. And sometimes they can be easily abused by these powerful entities. And so even the colonial government, women were abused.
I see.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, why did you include this poem in this collection?
Well, as you said at the beginning, that this was a classroom exercise. I taught a course in creative writing, and then it's from my training that when I teach a course, at the end I want to leave material.
Yes.
For that course, which people can use to teach, and the learners can use to read. So this is part of it that I left it, and so I used poetry from some of the leading writers, like Professor Ubadiri, Professor Mdari, Professor Chimombo, and such people, to give model of writing, to encourage my children, my students in their writing. And so you see, these were included because of that. And in fact, for the classroom, these were some of the initial poems that we discussed, analyzed, for them to see how poetry works. And they use these as models in their writing.
All right, we'll go into the heavyweights, the giants of literature in Malawi. But for now, let's start with the underdogs. There's a poem that stands out. It's Ego by Mervyn. Paul, can you play this
All
one?
right.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ego by Mervyn. Can you hear it? Sure. We saw you marching along streets in smart khakis and polished shoes. With truncheons and handcuffs, you gave us the hope we needed. Marching with holy men preaching about love for all human beings. We danced barefoot behind you, believing that finally we are safe. Now you connive with our uncles and have brothers to butcher us and sell our private parts and bones. Now where in Malawi can we be safe? Sure. That was a poem by Mervyn Kandiero. So, Dr. Mbano, what is this poem about?
The poem is about, behind it, some children, albino, recording a time in Malawi when we had a big function. Politicians, religious people, police, marching in streets to assure the albinos that they will be protected, that government will use its resources to protect them.
Yes.
And so you see in this poem, a young child, maybe of albino, following, looking at this and feeling now from today will be safe.
Yes.
And then there is a turn in the poem, because later on it is found that the same religious people, the same politicians, the same policemen are the ones conniving with some village people to kill albinos and sell their parts. So this is what the poem is about, the shock that a child has about this falsehood that is there to demonstrate something, and yet you don't mean it.
Yeah, I like that, because when I was reading this, I was feeling this is an allusion to a historical event, specifically of Mr. Masembuka and Muhusho, Father Muhusho.
Father Muhusho, yeah.
Yes,
I remember them.
yes, and there were police involved, and there was also medical people. It's a very bad situation.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is definitely a correct reading. Would you say? Or
Yes. Any poem can be interpreted depending on how we understand it.
Yes.
And so, looking at the poem and such an interpretation, yes, it fits. Yes.
So, is there any relationship between history and literature?
History and literature? Well, you will discover that while a lot of historical books have been written, but when people look at the past, they want to get some information, a feel of what it was.
Yes.
In most cases, they read literary works. Have you wondered about that?
Yes, I wondered about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
we used to read smoldering charcoal, but also the Russian novels. The Russian novels, we got a sense of how it is.
War and Peace.
Yes, War and Peace.
Dr.
Zhivago.
Anna Karenina.
Yes.
Covering the landscape and also like an epic of Russia. Yes. So there is this thing that both history, historical writing, and the literature, we see their narratives. They use narratives. But somehow, when you come to read later on, you find many people choose to read more narratives in terms of literature. And perhaps one of the things you can say that in a narrative, you are talking about, you are reporting about the past. But literature goes beyond that to actually focus on people. Narrative moments, to go into the mind of people interacting, talking about something, in dialogue, in the thoughts of someone. You go deep to a deeper analysis of things, to feel how did the people feel who walked through this phenomenon.
Yes.
You get more from literature. So you find, in most cases, people will quote about the history of Russia. They will quote things like Dr. Zhivago and the like. Yes, because of that.
I see.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, another poem that is in this collection that really encapsulates the phrase "straight out of the fire" is Impala by Zondiwe Mbano. Can we listen to that?
Yeah, sure. Ladies and gentlemen, Impala by Zondiwe Mbano.
The impala. What is it in an impala that triggers cruelty in a lion? Is it the helplessness? Is it the powerlessness? Or is it its futile efforts to escape claws of death? What is it really? If the impala weren't helpless and it stood its ground, would the lion pounce with fallacious confidence? Or look for a meek victim? What pleasure does the lion gain from this cruel chase of an innocent animal? What pleasure does the lion draw from the domination it has over the impala? What is it in a helpless, in a defenseless impala that excites the most ruthless impulses in a lion? What in an innocent child makes a lion of a human?
Well, what a well-constructed poem there. by your daughter, Zondiwe Mbano. So it seems you have passed on the writing skills to your children. Okay, this poem, the subject matter of this poem is child abuse. How prevalent is this problem in our society that we're living in, and what should everyone do about it?
Well, yes, you're saying the subject matter is child abuse at the level of interpretation. But at the surface level, the subject matter is impala. The relationship between the impala and the lion.
And the lion, yes.
The cruelty. The writer develops that cruelty that the lion inflicts on the impala.
Yes.
The fear and the helplessness of the impala. And how the lion enjoys that kind of thing. And so you can see the levels of cruelty. You can feel it. But in case at the end you say, well, lions are meant to eat meat.
Yes.
So what is this about? Then the poet brings a turn to say, look at this cruelty. Look at what I have said about this cruelty. Then she asks you the question in the very last two lines. What in an innocent child makes a lion of a human? So you know now that all this cruelty that you see is really also in human beings. But while we can forgive it in a lion, we cannot forgive it in a human being, treating another human being like that. Yes, so that is where the depth of the poem is.
I see. Very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's there's also the rhetorical questions all throughout the poem that really drive for that point across. Yeah, another one that's also I think would be classified as straight out of the fire is her dream. Yeah, can we play her dream?
Yes.
Her dream. She dreamt of a future, bright as a diamond, and strove for her dream. But education is a river, deep and wide, and poverty a shark of feet and arms. Luckily, she found a messiah, a pedagogue to raise her, to attain her full dream. But messiahs of these days require daily bread, and so her dream is a baby coming.
All right. What a beautiful poem there. Can you tell us more? What is this poem about?
Again, the poem is about a girl's dream.
Yes.
This girl has a dream through education, but she's handicapped, she's poor. They can't raise the fees and all the costs that go into education. And so she is in that situation. And then the poem tells us that luckily, she finds a messiah.
Messiah, in quotes.
In the sense of a teacher who is ready to pay her fees. And so obviously she's happy. This is a child who wants education. And so he is someone who is saying, I will pay your fees. And the writer goes deep now. The turn comes in the final stanza. The messiahs of these days require daily bread. The meaning of daily bread changes completely.
Yes.
We know daily bread, what it means. We pray about daily bread. We know the Bible about daily bread. But the writer changes this concept. Here is someone now whose notion of daily bread is to destroy the girl.
Yes.
Destroy her dream. So now, although he was called a Messiah, we know he's not a Messiah at all. He's someone who is there to destroy the girl.
Yes. And her dream.
And her dream.
Yes.
And in the end, he exploits the poor girl. And so this is the depth of this poem.
So we read the previous poem, which was about the impala and the lion. So I think there can be some connection between this story and this poem and that poem, because it's someone who is preying on the little children.
Yes, because these are very difficult issues in any nation. When you have people pretending to be helping others, people who use their power to destroy others, people who deceive. They tell you this, but they mean this.
Yes.
And in the end, many people suffer.
Yes.
And so these two women, two poems written by girls, go deep to that level, how women have been exploited with promises, yet in the end, nothing comes but destruction. So this is a concern that there is in our society.
Yes.
How can we meaningfully address these social ills?
Again?
How can we meaningfully address these social ills?
Well, as a writer, I have no formula. It's enough that a writer exposes this.
Yes.
Brings it clearly before you, truthfully, nothing hidden, for you to see the impact of it. And those of you who have means, maybe as leaders, youth leaders, who have some influence, you have something to do, because the poet has shown you the truth about this situation. It is not the poet's duty now to prescribe what should be done. He has shown you the problem abundantly.
Yeah, for our audience, I want to remind you that we are filming this at his house in Zomba. And Zomba is known for a great feature. What feature is this?
Zomba is well known for its Zomba Mountain.
Yeah.
Yes, the beautiful Zomba Mountain.
Beautiful, magnificent, majestic Zomba Mountain. Can we read about the Zomba Mountain? Can we listen to...
Okay, so there is this poem about Zomba Mountain. Let's listen to it.
Watch this.
Great-grandfather, founder of the clan, basket of spirits under each arm, claimed your slopes from our village. We spread between the green banks of two rivers, Naisi and Namingasi, planted and reaped in the fields, played and prayed in the forest, hearted and hunted, lived and loved under the giant gaze of your granite face. I, too, laden with a pocket full of poems under each arm, staked my claim on your plateau, pigs, poos and all, to wrest the wisdom of the ancients from the myth-infested forest and rivers. I read your visage like a verse, severed your similes, mined your metaphors, wrapped in the roaring rivers or buried in the bowers of borders, deciphered symbols of import in crags, crannies, or crevices, scanned cliffs clad in clouds, or rain-laden to fresh inspiration. Now great-grandfather, resurrected, would not recognize your visage. They blasted your borders down, smashed myths to smithereens. They graded your undergrowth, mashing water maids under wheels. They pulverized the wood spirits, flattening out their sighs and songs. Napolo no longer burst the banks of Namingasi, Satema, or Naisi. No myths meander down the Mulungusi. No lore slithers down the Likangala. past poor steps of lions, leopards, or lizards. They are all vanished in the valley below. No crows fight ants over leftovers of crumbs of cake from cottages, or canned beef, beans, or bottled water from backpackers on the camping site. Concrete, steel pipes, plastic and bricks, sprouting banks, borders and pathways. Still the cliff clips the skies, split the sunset into shafts of red, orange, purple and blue, doing a dying dance on your blowers, sending the slopes to early sleep, blanketing the town and village below in a premature foliage of darkness. This you will never surrender to man. This my great-grandfather will recognize. Wow, I really enjoyed reciting the poem. It was not that easy. It has some tongue twisters. Yeah, sure. Dr. Mbano, I feel this poem is talking about the environmental degradation that has affected our beautiful mountain. Because when we were younger, the mountain used to be very green. Now it's bare and without trees. Is that correct reading?
Yes, it's an interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And any interpretation that can be justified is correct.
But
there could be more.
Yes.
This poem is one of the great poems of a great writer. Steve Chirambo was a man of great imagination and creativity. And he focused on Zomba, on Apollo, and all that. He explored it so deeply. And perhaps as a reward, when he died, and when we are burying him at his home near Nice that day, you could see the visage of Zomba Grena looking down, and then the rain came.
Wow.
Heavy rain.
Okay.
To honor this
Yes.
poet of Zomba. The poem talks about Zomba Mountain, this great mountain, beautiful, awful, mysterious. There are a lot of stories around it. It has a legacy of its own. It's a living thing. Known everywhere in the world. People who have lived in Zomba come back to Zomba because they remember it.
Yes.
So the poem describes how Zomba was, how it was dignified, how it sustained life, until halfway you have a line, now great-grandfather resurrected would not recognize your visage. What has happened? So we find that the order, the unity of things has changed. You have a line which says, now crows fight ants over leftover of crumbs of cake from the cottage. Now, this is the situation. What has happened? Careless human beings. They call it progress. But they are destroying what is naturally there.
Yes.
And so you can see the destruction as he describes it. Ask the people, they will say, no, this is development. But you are destroying what was naturally there, beautiful. People came from far away. Haile Selassie spent a day there, and we have Emperor's View.
Yes.
The Queen of Great Britain, United Kingdom, spent a day there. We have a place there. And we have people who live there, who have lived there all their time. And now they are threatened because of the actions of human beings. So this is a concern. But he ends with the triumphant statement that in spite of this, the greatness of Zomba will not be affected. Still looking down on you, almost like laughing at you, whatever you are doing.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Beautiful. Professor Steve Chirambo passed away on the 11th December 2015. What do you think his legacy is?
A lot of is written a lot. Chirambo was a writer at heart. He wrote in Chiao, he wrote in Chichewa, he wrote short stories, he wrote novels, he wrote lots and lots of poetry. All these are there to witness the life of someone who was really committed to writing. He was a professor of literature.
Paul, Professor Chirambo used to live down there, right?
Yes.
Do you remember when we used to come and play? Did we know how profound he was then?
No, I think indeed we didn't comprehend
Yeah.
how huge he was in the literary world.
Yeah, the next house.
Yeah, he was your neighbor. Yes.
No, of course, we never lived at the same time. When we came here, he had left.
Ah, I see.
Yes.
Oh, I thought did you at once and you lived as neighbors. But anyway, and he used to stay next to your house. Ah, very beautiful. But we used to play with his kids, right?
Yes.
Napolo,
Tina and Christopher. Yeah.
Beautiful. So there is this another poem which is, of course, talking about the features of Zomba Mountain, and this one is titled "Songani Lookout." Okay, let's listen to this one, "Songani Lookout." It looks daunting, doesn't it? With its moss, slippery moss, with its crags, biting, sharp, blood-letting crags. But if you're exposed or marooned on that perpendicular mossy grayness, if you were pushed or pinned to that perpendicular craggy majesty, you would force yourself and no doubt succeed in reaching the top. Men have swum from the deep end of Lake Malawi, not only defying the lake, but achieving success. And so, if you were pushed to scale the limits of nature, to reach Songani Lookout, from the wrong end, bottom upwards, east and northwest, you might as well succeed.
Wow. What's this poem about?
This poem again is about Zomba Mountain.
Yes.
About there's a place called Songani.
Yes,
look
close
viewpoint.
to Queen's View and
Yes, somewhere where you look directly above Songani. It's very, very steep.
I see.
And so the writer, who's Professor Montali, who was also Professor of English, in the Department of English here, wrote about this. Of course, his writing is again just like Chirambo's writing, looking at the majestic view of Zomba, the frightening, deep, high. And so he describes all this, the rocks, the slippery moss, and all this. Looked up from maybe Songani, looking up, if you look up. And so he imagines that suppose you were pinned somewhere there. Just when it starts to fall somewhere.
oh my God.
And you can't go down because you fall, and you have to struggle to go up.
Yes.
What would happen to you? And so he writes how people have the ability to fight impossible battles and sometimes win. He talks. The second stanza extends where he says, men have swum from the deep end of Lake Malawi, not only defying the lake, but achieving success. The question of success in spite of all that is put there to make you fail to succeed.
Yes.
Deliberate human conditions that are put to disadvantage other people. And in Malawi, this has been common in our history.
Yes, very common.
To see how situations, how policies have been enacted, not for the progress of the people, not to encourage people, not to go to those people who are maybe not doing well and help them to do well, but more to go to those people who seem to be succeeding in some way and make policy to bring them down.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is some of the things that the poem's talking about. But as he says, maybe by God's grace, you find even among such cases, people still defy and succeed.
Yes. Yes.
And so you find many people who went through impossible situations, but still succeeded.
Wow.
Paul, I want to ask you a geographical question. Let's see how Malawian you are. Which is the deep end of Lake Malawi?
Deep end of Lake Malawi is somewhere up there in the north. Yeah.
I thought you wouldn't get it.
No, I know that. I know the place. Yeah, it's somewhere up the north. It's called, what is this place called?
Karonga is the deepest.
Karonga.
Yes.
Yeah, and the place has a name.
There's actually a name. I didn't know that.
Yes. There's a name. I've just forgotten the name.
Deep Bay. There's also a place called the Deep Bay.
Oh, Deep Bay,
which is Chitipa. Chirumba. Yes.
Kadabe?
No, in
Karonga. Wow. Okay. So it's a very interesting poem because it's talking about the heights and it's also talking about the depths. Okay. This very beautiful poem from Felix Montali, it has very profound meaning, and I'm very curious. Why did you include it in this book?
Again, the same reason. I was trying to pick from that generation of Malawian who were leaders in literature. I wasn't trying to pick from them a piece, discuss it with the students, analyze it, and see what makes it poetry, what makes it deep, as a way of giving them a model so that they can write.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to sum up, but don't go away. We're going to take a little break and after that we're going to feature one of his poems, one of his latest poems that probably most of you haven't heard. So we're going to take a break, then we're going to come back and listen to one of his latest poems.
The thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. John 10 verse 10.
On World Rangers Day, 31 July 2020, a newspaper depicted game rangers busy with ropes rescuing a hyena. Captioned "Selfless," 3 humans in khaki uniform in a game reserve of the Lakeshore district of Salima. The hyena, no one knows where his macabre escapades drove him to or from, fell into a pitfall trap, and silently, with cynical gratitude, he jeers. Carlo bipeds do not know that no good deed goes unpunished. A few weeks before, the same daily reported from jail that hyenas killed and devoured an old woman. They even proffered an odious detail that she was coming from a beer party in Mangone lands. Can this be a crime? Marauding hyenas in villages and towns attack school kids, the weak and elderly, and even dig up the stillborn from graves. A few years before, The same newspaper reported in Dedza a hyena, ferocious as a lion, killed and ate many villagers. Many people abandoned their villages to live as refugees in schools, and few brave men guarded homes from rooftops. A father rescued his son from the beast and in visceral pain pushed his guts in with bare hands, but saw him slowly die. Predaceous hyenas in Mangoni Highlands descend on villages from hills, but many believe that these are humans transmogrified. Others even believe this is poetic justice, for overpopulation rapes ecosystem. Overpopulation in Malawi, where is it? And is it not sad that in modern society we have no rangers, even selfish ones, to protect poor villagers from hyenas? Hyenas at Capitol Hill, chauffeured in Prados and Mercedes, they hound and prey on people. Lord, when will you rescue us from hyenas?
Welcome back. We listened to The Hyena, one of your latest poems. What is this about? It's very funny. It's very ironical. What's it about?
The poem is about hyenas.
What about hyenas?
Well, it was inspired by an article that came around 2010. I think there is a week in July where it's a World Rangers Day. So there were a lot of articles about World Rangers, and one of them was an article praising some rangers from some game reserve who rescued a hyena. So much was written about these good people who rescued a hyena that had fallen in a pit. And then that inspired my writing.
Okay.
Wow. Yes, but it's definitely more than about hyenas.
Yes, so I start talking about these world rangers who rescued a hyena, and I talk about it from a point of view of saying, really, should human beings be praised for rescuing hyenas? These are the same animals that have done so much damage in this country. So I recalled how sometime earlier on there was an article about hyenas that killed a woman in jail. And then sometime earlier on, I remember this because it happened when I was in Italy. That hyenas killed people. Many people. First it was in, one time it was in Doha. And the police were sent there with their guns, with their vehicles. They went round and round and killed no hyena at all. They came back reporting that they did find any.
Yes.
Yet these were ravaging people, killing people. There was also another year in Deza where hyena went and killed so many people. Even people started sleeping on top of houses. Some people ran away and stayed refugees, like in schools, and they just because of hyenas. And of course, in Nchewu, there are always stories of hyenas. Sometimes even people believe that people transform themselves into hyenas. Yes, so there's so much, nothing good about hyenas, really.
Yes.
And yet there was this week when so much was to eulogize the hyenas. I thought, no. I will also raise a voice against hyenas. So I wrote to show what devastation hyenas have done. How they are even dug some graves where steel bones have been buried, how they have killed people, how they have brought so much suffering in different parts. And the game rangers who are there everywhere, we haven't heard about heroic stories of them protecting people. But we hear about stories of them rescuing a hyena.
Yes.
So that is towards the end, of course, you will see that the theme of the hyena has been extended. So when you come to the last stanza, which stands alone, then you can see what this hyena is. Because it says hyenas at Capitol Hill, chauffeured in Prados and Mercedes, they hound and prey on people. Lord, when will you rescue us from hyenas?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow. Amazing work. All right. So I was reading. Should be the introduction of this book. You said you wrote this book during COVID. Yes. I'm just curious to know how hard was it to write during lockdown, and you have penned a number of works, a number of books. How special is this one to you?
Well, this is special so far because it contains a lot of authentic writing by my students.
I see.
Where I taught creative writing.
All right.
The idea came together with my colleague who Makunganya, whose name appears there.
Yes, John Makunganya.
Yes, he was my tutor when we were teaching creative writing. Okay. These classes can be large, and so Mr. Makunganya was engaged by the college to help in creative writing, marking, and the like.
Okay.
So, together, he is also a writer. In that book, you will see a lot of his poetry,
yes,
and also a short story. So we came up with this idea to write a book.
Okay.
And so it came, and most of these, it was just really a question of compiling them, because I have lots and lots of material, good material written by students.
Okay.
So it was really more of compiling and also writing questions, and then we wrote notes, different sections to help anyone who wants to follow up the subject.
Yes.
So that's how we wrote it. I don't think it took us such a long time because most of the material were compiled from what we already have.
I see.
Yes. But it took long because of having sent it to the publisher. I think the publisher had their own problems, so they took long.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice.
Yeah. This has been a very good book for me. I mean, I think it's easy, very accessible for anyone that's getting into literature, but still it has the depth. It has all the depth. It's not just a literature for dummies type of book. It is written with a lot of feeling, and also why I found it very exciting is because it actually curates a lot of Malawian literature. If you want to go into Malawian literature, you get all of the giants, but it also goes beyond that. There's also African literature in there. There's also some classics like Wilfred Owen. There's John Paper Clark. Yes. So I would really encourage you to get yourself a copy. Get yourself a copy if you have children who are exploring creative writing. This is definitely the one.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. This has been also an exciting episode. Having you on the podcast. We really appreciate. It's one of those episodes that will go a long way as the best that we have ever done. Sure, we really appreciate you for having us at your place and let us discuss your book. I don't know kutokoza kwangavutirepo because ndi chintu chachikulu kwambiri pa podcast yathu ya Because Ubuntu Matters and the Podium podcast.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're really honored, and you've treated us with special grace. We'll be coming back. Come back with all our provocative questions. Hope you'll be ready. And
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think indeed we need more of these because people out there they are lacking insights on literature and other good writings from well-known writers like you.
Okay.
Sure.
No, thanks so much. I hope next time you can arrange it so that Mr. Makunganya, who also contributed, could have been here.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
To make his own contribution. Yes.
We should arrange that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be coming with this collaboration podcast every now and then. We're scheduling them for every month.
Yes.
And so get ready for that and get ready for value-adding content. Not gossip, but value-adding content.
Yes. Because content matters. Because Ubuntu matters.
And we're creating a podium for everyone.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Paweka songa kale anthu munthu pali awiri palidi kanthu munthu ngati limodzi madziwokhetsa ludzu ngati umunthu paweka songa kale anthu munthu pali awiri palidi kanthu munthu ngati limodzi madziwokhetsa ludzu ngati umunthu.
Look, I think about it for a minute. Yeah. I celebrate when I'm winning. Look, you see the world keeps spinning and I keep dreaming as I open my third eye. You gaze up the horizon, I chase knowledge in these books. I'm amazed. That's why we raise the bar high, elevate and meditate and celebrate. Cause you see umuntu ndituntu palibo gawanika, one mind, body and soul. I'm on the law ndikumbuka ngani za gogo under the moon and the stars chakukomo.
Paweka songa kale anthu munthu pali awiri